The way our world is digitizing, it's incredible, isn't it? Everything's moving online so fast.
It really is. The pace is astonishing.
But this massive shift, especially in regions like Latin America, it comes with this alarming flip side.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about cybersecurity. Latin America has become this major hotspot for cyber activity. It's fascinating, but also pretty concerning.
Absolutely. A real double-edged sword.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, the cybersecurity landscape
Mm-hmm.
across Latin America and the Caribbean. We want to unpack, the huge increase in cyber attacks there
Yeah, the numbers are quite something.
and understand why the region seems particularly vulnerable. We'll also touch on the complex regulatory challenges
Which are definitely part of the puzzle.
and, importantly, look at the solutions and strategies that are starting to emerge. How are they fighting back? We're pulling from recent reports, expert insights to give you a really solid perspective. Our mission here is to pull out those key insights so you understand not just what's happening, but crucially, why it matters for the whole global cyber picture.
It's all interconnected, really.
Okay, so let's start unpacking this. Latin America is seeing this significant surge in cyber attacks.
Mm-hmm.
What is making it such a target right now?
It's a really important question. And, it's interesting because Latin America often ranks as, the world's least prepared region for these kinds of attacks.
Least prepared, even compared to.
Yeah. According to the UN's Global Cybersecurity Index, it actually trails regions like Africa and South Asia. That's in things like capacity building, legal measures.
Wow, okay.
And the numbers back this up. IBM's X-Force, for example, they track global attacks. They found Latin America, with only about 8% of the world's population, was hit by roughly 12% of the global attacks they observed.
12%, that's disproportionately high.
It is, and some experts estimated something like 1,600 attacks per second hitting the region. 1,600 per second. That's just hard to even picture. I mean, how much of that is just background noise versus real targeted threats causing damage?
That's a key point. A lot is automated noise, scanners probing for weaknesses, but the sheer volume means even a tiny success rate translates into significant breaches.
Right.
And the why behind this vulnerability is sort of a perfect storm. First, you've got incredibly rapid digitalization.
Accelerated by the pandemic, I imagine.
Exactly. The pandemic just supercharged automation, digital transformation, public sector, private sector, everywhere. You see smartphone use soaring.
Yep.
Social media, e-commerce, online banking, It's booming.
Okay.
But the cyber defenses, the security measures, they just haven't kept pace with that rapid adoption.
Yeah. So growth outpaced security.
Precisely. And then there's the mindset factor. Often it's an automate first, protect later approach.
Get the business running online, worry about locks later.
Kind of, yeah. It's often driven by the immediate need for growth, efficiency. Security can feel like a cost center, not an enabler, especially early on.
So cybersecurity gets treated as purely an IP problem, not, a poor business risk or even a political or cultural issue that leadership needs to own.
And legacy systems probably don't help either.
Definitely not. Many organizations rely on older systems, which are often full of known vulnerabilities. Plus, there's often inadequate training for the IT staff themselves to handle today's sophisticated threats. It creates easy ways in for attackers.
And these vulnerabilities, they aren't just theoretical. They're leading to some really damaging high-profile attacks, right? Can you walk us through some examples that really put the region on high alert?
Oh, absolutely. The Costa Rica incident in April 2022 was a stark demonstration.
Conti, the Russian hacker group.
That's the one. They hit the finance ministry, encrypted systems, stole huge amounts of data, demanded millions.
What was the impact on the ground?
It was immediate. Government services just froze. People couldn't get their pensions. Customs actually had to go back to using paper forms.
Wow, back to paper.
Oh, yeah. The country ended up declaring a national state of emergency because of the cyber attack. That was a global first. It really showed how crippling these attacks can be.
A real wake-up call. But it wasn't just Costa Rica, was it?
Not at all. It was part of a disturbing pattern. Take Mexico, September 2022. The defense ministry was breached by hacktivists, Guacamaya.
Guacamaya, right. What did they leak?
Confidential military stuff, info on surveillance of journalists, even the president's personal medical records. A massive intelligence failure.
Unbelievable.
Then Colombia, December 2022, Carroll T, A big healthcare organization hit by ransom house, operations disrupted, medical procedures canceled.
And patient data exposed.
Sensitive patient data, yes.
Yeah.
And that case really highlights how often companies might not reveal the full extent of a breach, for reputation reasons, which makes it harder for everyone else to prepare.
That silence is dangerous.
It really is. Chile also had a major ransomware attack, August 2022, hitting the Ministry of Interior. They targeted Windows and VMware servers, demanded ransom, threatened leaks.
Hadn't Chile already faced a big attack?
Yes, the Banco de Chile breach back in 2018 where $10 million was stolen, that actually spurred a lot of their cybersecurity development. Sometimes it takes a crisis.
A costly lesson. What about Brazil? I hear they're a major target.
Hugely. Brazil's court system suffered something like 13 consecutive attacks between 2020 and 2022. It's the most attacked country in Latin America and easily in the top 10 globally.
And Argentina.
They've had their share, too. The National Registry Office, RENAPR, was infiltrated in October 2021. Personal data, including famously Lionel Messi's national ID, ended up for sale on the dark web.
Wow. Even Messi wasn't safe.
Nope. And Telecom Argentina got hit with ransomware in July 2020. Attackers wanted $7.5 million. So, yeah, the examples are widespread and serious.
It really drives home the scale. So who are these attackers? Is it all about the money, or is it more complicated than that?
It's definitely more complicated. It's a really diverse mix of threat actors. CrowdStrike, for example, tracks about 6 main e-crime groups, focusing heavily on LATAM.
And they're using new tricks.
Absolutely. We're seeing newer programming languages like Rust being used in malware.
Rust. Why is that significant?
Well, Rust has features like memory safety that can make the resulting malware harder to analyze, potentially evading some traditional security tools. It presents a new challenge.
Okay.
And ransomware as a service is booming. It lowers the bar for criminals. They can essentially rent the tools and infrastructure for sophisticated attacks.
Making it easier for more people to launch attacks.
Exactly. We've seen big game hunting ransomware attacks targeting large, high-value organizations increase by 15% in the region just from 2023 to 2024.
15% increase. Wow.
But interestingly, the cost for brokers to sell initial access, like stolen logins, actually dropped by 60% in that same period.
Dropped. Why?
It suggests there's a very active, saturated underground market, lots of access available, driving prices down, makes it even easier for attackers to get started.
So financial criminals are a big part. What about nation states?
Oh, they're definitely active. China Nexus groups, Vixen Panda, Liminal Panda, Aquatic Panda are among the most active nation-state threats.
What are they after?
Often intelligence gathering from government, targets, telecom companies. Sometimes it's about technological expansion or intellectual property theft.
And others.
We also see North Korean groups, famous Chilima, Silent Chilima, Stardust Chilima. They often run opportunistic campaigns, mainly looking for financial gain to fund the regime.
And then they're the hacktivists.
Right, like Guacamaya, who we mentioned hitting Mexico, but they also targeted Chile, Guatemala, Colombia, and groups like GhostSec, affiliated with Anonymous.
What drives them?
Ideology, mostly. Protesting government actions, geopolitical events. They often aim to leak information publicly to embarrass or disrupt.
So it's a real mix, and the malware itself is evolving too.
Constantly. We've gone from simple viruses to incredibly complex ransomware, sometimes using AI to improve evasion. And phishing, exploiting stolen passwords via social engineering is always on the rise. Password reuse is a huge enabler for them.
It's clear the threats are sophisticated, diverse, constantly changing. Which brings up a critical point. What about the laws and regulations? How are they keeping up with all this?
Yeah, that's a major hurdle. The short answer is, often they're not keeping pace very well.
Why is it so difficult?
Well, cyberspace itself doesn't respect borders, which makes regulation tricky for any country. But in Latin America, many countries just struggle to get regulations drafted, passed, and implemented quickly enough.
Does the underlying legal system play a role? You hear about civil law versus common law.
It absolutely does. Most of LATAM uses civil law systems, think written constitutions, detailed codified laws.
Okay.
Now imagine you're trying to set up a public-private partnership, maybe share threat intel. Under civil law, the contract has to align very precisely with existing statutes. These contracts tend to be shorter, less flexible.
Meaning it can be slow to adapt.
Exactly. If the law doesn't explicitly cover something new, it can create ambiguity, delays, even make parts of an agreement unenforceable. It slows down adaptation to these really dynamic cyber risks.
Whereas common
Common law systems like in Belize or Trinidad and Tobago rely more on case law precedent. Contracts can offer more freedom, potentially allowing for faster setup of things like PPPs. Then you have mixed systems too, like Guyana or Puerto Rico.
So the legal framework itself can sometimes be a bottleneck. What are the biggest day-to-day compliance or enforcement problems they face?
A really critical weakness is the widespread lack of mandatory breach reporting requirements.
Companies don't have to report when they get hacked.
Often, no. Or the rules are unclear or unenforced, so companies frequently stay silent to protect their reputation. They might even pay ransoms quietly.
Without guarantees, I assume.
Right, and this code of silence is incredibly damaging. If nobody knows what kind of attacks are succeeding, how can others protect themselves? Information isn't shared. Attackers learn more than defenders.
So the ecosystem doesn't learn collectively.
Precisely. Colombia, for instance, has been called a sandbox for hackers, partly because of this lack of reporting. Attackers can test things out with less fear of exposure or coordinated response.
Are existing laws just outdated then?
Many are, yes. Or they lack teeth-effective enforcement bodies. Look at Brazil's LGPD, their big data protection law from 2020. It was inspired by GDPR, which is good.
What?
But it took 6 years to fully implement. By the time it's fully in effect, parts might already be outdated given how fast tech changes. Plus, there are coordination issues between different government bodies, no single agency really overseeing cybersecurity nationally.
What about other countries? Colombia, you mentioned.
Yeah, Colombia has laws like Law 1581 from 2012 and policy documents called COMPES. But in practice, breaches often go unreported and clear, enforceable policies for critical infrastructure are still lacking.
Are there any bright spots? Any countries making real progress?
Chile's new law, Law number 21.719, looks promising. It was published late 2024, fully implemented by late 2026.
What does it do?
It creates a dedicated personal data protection agency, introduces serious fines, regulates the role of data protection officers, and it's actively aiming for GDPR adequacy status. That's a big step.
Okay, that's positive. Mexico.
Mexico has a new regime coming in March 2025. It transfers powers from their Independent Data Authority, INAI, to a government ministry. It expands scope. But there are concerns.
Such as?
Lack of clarity on international data transfers, how consent is interpreted, and maybe weaker oversight since the ministry doesn't report directly to Congress like INAI did. Implementation challenges loom large.
And smaller nations.
Many, like Belize, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Puerto Rico, they often struggle with having no specific data protection laws at all, or laws that aren't fully enacted, or just lack the resources and training. Belize, for example, lacks overall cyber regulations. Guyana doesn't even have a legal framework to identify its critical national infrastructure.
So it's a real patchwork, and the challenges are huge.
Right.
Legal, cultural, political. But people are trying to move forward. What are the actionable steps? What can countries realistically do? It feels like that mindset shift is key. It's not just an IT issue.
Absolutely not. That's the core message. Cybersecurity is a political, cultural, and business issue. It has to be treated that way.
So national strategies.
Yes, and it's good that 20 LATAM nations had a national cyber strategy by 2023, up from 12 in 2020. But the strategy document is just the start. Implementation is everything.
Which needs money.
Exactly. Dedicated budget lines are crucial. Cybersecurity needs to be funded seriously, like national defense. It's that important now.
And public-private partnerships, PPPs.
Yeah.
You mentioned the challenges.
They're essential. Government can't do it alone. The private sector owns and operates so much critical infrastructure. Overcoming the legal hurdles and building trust for information sharing is vital.
Is there hope there?
Yes, look at the banking sector in LATAM. Despite antitrust concerns, they've managed to create effective information sharing mechanisms because they recognize the common threat. It shows it is possible.
What about people? The skills gap seems massive.
It's huge. An estimated 600,000 cybersecurity professionals are needed in the region.
600,000. How do you even begin to fill that?
It requires a multi-pronged approach. More collaboration between governments and universities to create relevant courses. Promoting skills-based hiring, not just degrees. Online certifications can also help bridge the gap quicker.
Can technology itself help defend? What about AI?
Definitely. Strategic investment in AI can be a game changer for defense.
How so?
AI can automate threat detection, spot anomalies in network behavior much faster than humans, and improve how threat intelligence is analyzed and shared.
Which ties into information sharing centers.
Precisely. Establishing ISACs at regional, national, even industry-specific levels is vital. They become the hubs where AI-driven insights and human analysis can be shared effectively, making everyone stronger through collaboration.
And law enforcement needs a clearer role.
Absolutely. We need clear pathways for police and prosecutors to investigate cybercrime and reduce impunity. Mandatory reporting of breaches is key here, too. It gives investigators the data they need and helps stop infections from spreading.
What about basic defense? What should every organization be doing?
The basics are non-negotiable. Constant patching of all systems. Layered security things like next-gen antivirus, EDR, endpoint detection and response, maybe MDR, managed detection and response.
So detection and response, not just prevention.
Exactly. Continuous monitoring for anything unusual on the network, and having a well-defined incident response plan before you get hit, knowing who does what when an attack happens.
And the human element, you said 95% of breaches involve human error?
That's the statistic, yeah. And phishing is still the #1 way attackers get in. So basic training and awareness are incredibly critical.
For everyone.
Everyone, from the boardroom to the front desk, even basic awareness at home. Fostering a culture where people feel safe reporting suspicious emails or clicks internally is huge. Turning people into sensors, not just potential victims.
It sounds like, despite the massive challenges, there is a path forward. A roadmap for resilience is emerging, even if it's difficult. And that move towards GDPR-like standards is encouraging.
It shows a growing recognition of the need for robust, internationally aligned frameworks.
We've certainly covered a lot of ground today, from those really dramatic attacks hitting Latin America
Yeah, the scale is sobering.
to the complex, often lagging legal systems trying to catch up, and finally, the crucial solutions being put forward.
And I think the key takeaway is that resilience isn't just about buying the latest security tech.
Right.
It's really about political will, about shifting the culture to prioritize security, and building that shared understanding cybersecurity is truly everyone's responsibility. It's not just the IT department's problem anymore.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, our listener, in this incredibly connected digital world?
Well, given that cyberspace really has no borders and these threats just keep evolving, what does this reliance we see growing in Latin America on international cooperation, on these robust public-private partnerships, what does that tell us about the future of cybersecurity globally? Can any country, any organization really secure itself in isolation anymore? Or is collective cross-border resilience the only viable path forward on this digital highway we're all traveling?
Something definitely worth thinking about as you continue your own deep dive into this critical and constantly evolving topic.